Oh. Good morning, world. Once again, this your boy Nick Paul, man. When y'all click on this message, I hope everybody's in the best health, mentally, spiritually, physically, financially. What I'm gonna talk about today is the title I used to run these segments on, which would be RTB. And I got that title from a song I wrote a couple years ago called Best of Me. And somewhere in that song I said, I came to find that the whole world's like a landmine. You get what I'm saying? I ain't gonna go into much detail about what a landmine is, but it's an explosive. So RTB stands for running through bombs. I came up with the name some years ago. And I never, even though I done said the title and spoke on it before, I ain't going to detail. I let people get their own opinions, own perspectives, etc. But I knew that the average would associate it with street life, drug dealing, running through bombs. You get what I'm saying? But like I say, I came up with the title. Listening to one of my songs. And I said I came to find that the whole world's a landmine. So the older I grow, the more I learn, and I pay attention to a lot of things play out. A lot of endings determine on our reactions. You get what I'm saying? So when I think about walking on water, when I read that and first heard that, I didn't transfer it or translate it like Jesus was really walking on water. No disrespect to Jesus, or none of the believers or followers or the ones that know him, the ones that's getting to know him. So running through bombs. If you're in the army, I'm pretty sure they got all kind of exclusive training, but they teach you how to track and find these certain devices and how to look out for certain booby traps when you walking and when you know what I'm saying? You don't even got to be in active war. It's like a bear trap. Anything can be considered a landmine. But if you watching how you walk, if you walking light and you paying attention to the turf as you paying attention to everything else, it's going to be a little harder to step in some shit. Excuse my language. You get what I'm saying? And like I say, I don't want to just be piggybacking off of every title. I be trying to think of more or less solutions and how do I get in contact with the people with a bigger name than I got. That's what I be wanting to speak to them about. I be wanting to speak to them about chopping it up with solutions. Let's start giving out the solutions. And the more I look into that, the more you'll figure out. Like, man, how do you figure out one's true agenda? Like, making money, we shouldn't even have to, we can talk about the divide and the split and how we're going to break it down, but everybody got money on their agenda. You know what I'm saying? Everybody don't got peace on their agenda, though. Everybody don't got unity on their agenda, though. Everybody don't got love on their agenda, though. And all of that comes back to the bag, if you ask me. A consistent bag on a bigger level. You get what I'm saying? We need more people willing to work with each other without all the competition, without all the stigmas, without all the halos over our head of negativity. You get what I'm saying? Because we all living on the turf, which is America. But for some reason, every state being ran a little different. You get what I'm saying? It's like they'll be fucking us over in Florida. Now, once they get the laws right in Florida and they change up, they going to take the shit to Texas. And the shit they was doing in Texas, they going to start doing it in Florida. Like it'd be a big game, And all this shit boiled down to paper, money. This is what most of this shit boiled down to. Most of this shit boiled down to money. So, being a descendant from a slave, I know how important money is. I know how valuable money is. I never considered it to be more valuable than me, though. I never considered it to be more valuable than my brother or my sister. So for me to be a descendant of a slave, I wasn't born into slavery back then, but I was born into modern day slavery. Something that I understood without people just pointing it out, letting me know, hey, you see this, you see that, I got an eye. And I'm not afraid to ask questions. You get what I'm saying? But when you're a juvenile, an adolescent, a kid, and you're asking questions that you already think you know the answer to, and then you got 10 adults tell you something different than what you're thinking, you naturally gonna go with what they tell you. And you're gonna downplay your own thinking, not knowing that you was just introduced to the lies. You was just introduced to the deception. You get what I'm saying? And the lie was intentional, but it wasn't intended to deceive you though. See what I'm saying? Back in the days, a lot of elders used to lie to the kids to actually try to save them and try to help them, not knowing that this same thing gonna come back and haunt us. So let's keep it on the slavery. So you know they had the war. So now the slaves get free. Over half of America land claimed up. You know, you can study and research how they got the land. All of them didn't buy it though. You get what I'm saying? You can have people living in Iowa and they just wake up and move to Texas. Wherever they land at, wherever they go at, as long as ain't nobody living there, they claim that land. I don't know if you call it homesteading. I don't know the exact name. So all I'm saying is this: when the slaves was released, this is what you was released into. You was released into a already fully working society, right? So that means as the war was going on, they had to be implementing plans for these people that could potentially be set free. They had to be implementing plans for them. You get what I'm saying? So now, when you do the research, what was the currency before it was paper? Everybody gonna say gold and silver. That's true. But for the most part, it was bartering. It was trading. Whatever skill set you had, that was the currency. That was your currency. Like, whatever you could do. If you can train horses, if you can change horseshoes, if you was a carpenter, if you can build wells, you get what I'm saying? Your skill set was your currency. Now, some kind of way. So watch this here. You got flour. You got chickens that produce eggs. I got pigs that produce bacon, pork chops. I got cows that produce milk, beef. You get what I'm saying, though? You might build my shed. I might give you a cow. You might give me a couple cuts of a pig. I might give you a couple cuts of beef. You might give me some sugar. I might give you some salt. You see what I'm saying? So, you know how hard it is to deviate and go outside of a want, go outside of a need for a want when you bartering and trading? It's very hard. So now, I'm trying to think of a way to implement gold in there. I'm trying to think of a way to implement silver in there. Like, I know it's an answer. I just don't know the answer. Like, where does gold and silver get its value from? When it comes to a piece of land over here, when it comes to a cow that you bred off of another cow, where does the gold get its value from? Something has to be taken out and replaced with this. You get what I'm saying? Because if you don't know what gold is and you don't know what silver is, and somebody walk up to you and say, hey, I want to give you this piece of metal right here. No matter what they tell you, the only thing they're going to be able to tell you is worth is something that you've been trading. It's worth 50 cows. Because if they say, hey, this piece of metal right here is worth $50, a person ain't going to be able to see that. A person ain't going to be able to understand, hey, give me 10 cows for this piece of gold. and you'll be able to, that's where the banking and shit came in at. But what I'm getting to is this. When you start taking the objects out of the objects and possessions out of the people's hand and putting the money in their hand, it gave them more freedom of choice. You get what I'm saying, though? It made the mind more cloudy. It made it so that a person can make even poorer decisions, although they already in a poor environment. You get what I'm saying? They gonna choose wants over needs, because the average person going off of a feeling. People want to feel good, and it's a fact that sometimes doing the right thing, it might not be so fulfilling to the soul to most, and a lot of the negative stuff, the stuff that's not positive, is thrilling for some reason. I won't deny that. You get what I'm saying, though? But I'm disciplined enough to not continue to do that. I love going to the club. I love strippers. I love a lot of stuff, but I'm disciplined enough to say, okay, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to overdo it. You feel me? I'm not, and I'm not going down the people that's doing it. You get what I'm saying? I'm just going to break them off a piece at a time, a piece at a time, a piece at a time, and hope that they catch up before it's too late. And understand, when you catching up, you straight when you caught up. But watch this. 50 or 100 more people done watched you do this. You done made it look fun. You done made it look exciting. What up? You done made it look fun. You done made it look exciting. So you've been leading by example. So by the time you figure out, hey, man, what I was doing, even though I don't think I was hurting nobody else, even though I was enjoying myself, but once I come to the conclusion that, damn, I've been digging myself in a ditch, and it's finna be even harder to get out than it was to put myself in it. Then once you look a little deeper, you're gonna say, damn, I done helped a lot more people get into this same ditch. Once you recognize that right there, you won't be so easy to detach from your people, let go from your people. So running through bonds, man, we done been through so much shit. Still ain't die. You see what I'm saying? We done overcame so much stuff. Still got so much to overcome. But the shit, we done overcame the hardest parts. You see what I'm saying? We done overcame the hardest parts. That's a fact. That don't mean we don't got more work to do. But it's a fact. We done overcame the hardest part. We done came to realize that it ain't more physical than mental. We know that now. So knowing that, we can honestly say that we our own biggest problem. So when people be comparing police brutality to black on black crime, I get what they're trying to say. I get what they're trying to compare. I don't agree with them, though. You get what I'm saying? I don't agree with them. Now, after you talk to a person about that, and you go into fine detail, we're allowed to believe what we want. We're allowed to feel how we want to feel. But once two people have a total conversation about that, comparing police brutality to black on black crime, it's going to be a big conversation, because you're going to have to bring up white on white crime. You're going to have to bring up Hispanic on Hispanic crime. You're going to have to bring up Chinese on Chinese crime. You're going to have to bring up Greek on Greek crime. And all the statistics are coming back saying that each race kills more of their own. But the police governs all races. You get what I'm saying? The police governs all races. Now, why is it that the black race, the African race, is getting killed more by the ones who's supposed to be governing the citizens? See, it's a multitude of answers. And the first one I'm gonna use, you dealing with a race where over half of them got PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. And they'll bring it up, they'll forget about it. They'll bring it up, they'll talk about it, they'll forget about it. They'll bring it up, they'll forget about it. So if I'm dealing with people who I know got post-traumatic stress disorders, I'm going to talk to them different. I'm going to deal with them different. You get what I'm saying? Not to show favor, not to take nothing off of my square, not to, you see what I'm saying? Like I'm dealing with a war vet. But I keep giving him signals that I'm gonna attack him though. This could potentially get me killed. You see what I'm saying? The average black man has more anger in him than the average, you can name any other race. Do they have the right to? That's up for debate. But when you do the history and you research what everybody been through, when you research the reparations, some received and some didn't. You see what I'm saying? When you research how the system was railroading people, you'll see where a lot of this anger come in at. I'm talking about on contact though, like to the point that I don't even want to talk to them. The police, you work for the government. The government hires the police to do their job. And watch this here. They word be law to each other. The police word be law. And where do they get their word from? Somebody else. Everybody knows that the system about money. You get what I'm saying? It's a lot of things like, so I'm saying all this to say, it's a lot of backtracking. But you ain't got to go too far, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years back. You know what I'm saying? Because we be going 1,000 years, 400 years back. And we be skipping over the last 40 and 50 years. And I be like, damn, we ain't going to catch up to that until I'm dead. You see what I'm saying, though? Let's attack the problems while we still close to them. You know? Because once they stop killing you, just say, per se, physically, they do it a different way. You get what I'm saying? So knowing that, let you know that it's very important to have open arms for your own. You get what I'm saying? Be willing to give your own a chance. Let me give you a scenario. I grew up in the system, right? Meaning I'm getting locked up at an early age. So I'm slowly but surely losing respect for, let's say, authority figures. I still know I gotta listen. I still know I gotta follow rules and guidelines. Yet when I'm put in situations where I'm disrespected or I'm treated unequal, I stand up or I take a stand. And my stand is verbally. But I'm giving the ultimatum. Either my way or the highway. And my way ain't my way, I mean they way. It's either they way or the highway. A lot of times I choose the highway. For the sake of respect. And your own people going, so now watch this. You go home, you back in the community. You know everybody was just praising you because you had a job, you getting paid a couple dollars an hour, doing good, you feel me? For whatever reason, you know, everybody, they salute you. You get another job, same type situation. So, just say this happens like 3-4 more times. You could tell somebody, you can keep it to yourself. But when you telling people, you're not looking at it like you're hurting or helping. You just expressing yourself. You trying to figure out what's going on yourself. Am I overreacting? Should I just shut up? Should I? You get what I'm saying? Though it's a lot of ways to play the situation. But the more you explain your situation and what you're going through, the more you're going to be judged by a lot of people who don't even recognize that we all judge, right? Okay. So now you come to grips, you like, man, a lot of these people prejudiced or racist, but they're holding something against me, and I can't figure it out. So I'm going to different people, I'm trying to figure it out. But the only answers they're giving you is the way you're conducting yourself. You need to conduct yourself different. So you conduct yourself different. The same outcome. The harder you work, the heavier load they give you. They let you know that you're replaceable. You see what I'm saying? They let you know that, hey, I got a stack of applications in there like this. If you was to quit right now, or if I was to fire you right now, this position's gonna be filled so fast. So they're basically letting you know in a passive aggressive way, they don't appreciate what you're doing for them. It's all about what they're doing for you. Now when you bring that back to your people, they're gonna explain to you how you need to create your own. That's why you need your own, so you don't have to go through this. Yet, they won't let you work for them, because they already been judging you off of what you've been going through dealing with the system. You see what I'm saying? So we done came out of slavery and we done adopted a lot of their ways without even knowing it. And yeah, these touchy subjects, speaking on racism, speaking on a lot of stuff, but I'd rather speak to my people, and I'd rather speak to them in a way that the message can't be misconstrued too much. It can only be denied, and I understand denial. You get what I'm saying? But everybody grows within their own time. Everybody has different reasons for why they'll deny the truth. I mean, it's probably more than 10. That's not saying it's right. I'm just saying I understand it, though. You feel me? I understand it. So yes, it's a certain way that we're supposed to talk to each other. It's a certain way that we're supposed to interact with each other.